Good morning and welcome to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask at this time, if you're able to please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance this morning as a board, staff, and stakeholders as we make important decisions about a finite resource. I pray that you will help us to strike a balance between those who own and control portions of this resource and those in the surrounding neighboring areas. As always, Lord, I pray for the members of our armed forces and our first responders throughout our community and the nation and the globe. Pray that you will guide them and keep them safe each and every day. I ask for all of these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner White. And at this time, if we could do a roll call, please.
Good morning. Kemp?
Here.
Overman?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Cohen?
Here.
Hagan?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
White?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. And we will move to withdrawals, continuances, and remands. Mr. Moreto, you are recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Moretta, Development Services Department for the record. Commissioners, we have one change on the agenda. It's found on agenda page 7, item E5, application PRS 20-1315. Staff has requested a continuance of this item to March 9th. Having said that, I'll move to the agenda itself, move to the withdrawal, continuances, and remands. Item A1, rezoning PD 18-0996. Staff is requesting this item be continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A2, personal appearance 20-0949. This application is out of order and is being continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A3, personal appearance 20-1306. Staff is requesting the item be continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A4, personal appearance 21-0048. Staff is requesting this item be continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A5, personal appearance 21-0060. The application is out of order. It's being continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A6, PRS 21-0064. Staff is requesting the item be continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A7, personal appearance 21-0081. This application is out of order, being continued to March 9th, Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A8, personal appearance 21-0082. The applicant is requesting the item be continued as a matter of right to the March 9th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. And finally, item A9, CDD 21-0157. Staff is requesting the item be continued to March 9th Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Commissioners, that concludes the changes.
Thank you.
Changes.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner White to move the changes, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Can we have a roll call?
Kemp?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll move to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Overman, seconded by Commissioner White. And if we can have a roll call, please.
Kemp?
Yes?
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And at this time, we will have the administration of the oath read by the clerk's office, administered by the clerk's office, read by the chair. If you're planning to testify today, please raise your right hand and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear that you're about to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. And we will move to our public hearings. We're now on the public hearing agenda, and Mr. Moreta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E1 on the agenda. This is personal appearance 20-0516. This is related to a property at 10210 Bonnie K. Court. It's a 0.19 acre site. The request is to modify a plan development to permit an accessory dwelling unit on the site. Commissioners, the plan development in this particular situation requires a front yard setback of 10 feet. This particular lot is located on a double frontage corner lot, which has 2 front yards. The applicant is proposing to construct the accessory dwelling unit into the front yard setback. The applicant is proposing encroachments of both 3 feet and 7 feet, and it basically meanders in the setback between those 2 points. Staff is recommending not supporting this particular application due to the front yard setback and compatibility issues along the front yard. Commissioners, the applicant is, to our knowledge, not available for this. They haven't signed in to speak, and to our knowledge, there's no one. The applicant is not in the audience as well. We do have citizens that we believe are here for this application, but the applicant is not. Just wanted to bring that up for your attention. And staff is not supporting this particular application because of its encroachment in the front yard, and we feel it'll be a compatibility issue in the area. So that pretty much sums it up. We're available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So without the applicant presentation, I guess we will move forward, and if I could have legal speak to this since there are opponents in the audience, move forward with the opponent testimony.
Commissioners, Madam Chair, I've been advised that in addition to the applicant not being present, the applicant is at the end of its allowed time period for this application. At this point, if the board the board really would have to proceed with this application, and at this time, given the fact that the applicant is not able to continue this application further than this meeting today.
Okay, so you're advising that we just move on and have the proponent and opponent testimony and vote on this at this time, or?
Yes, Commissioners.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, the applicant is not present. Proponent testimony, anyone in support, proponent testimony of up to 15 minutes if there's anyone there in support. Hearing none. Opponent testimony, anyone who opposes this project has up to 15 minutes. I understand there was opponent testimony, is that correct?
No one wants to speak. Commissioners, we're advised that there are people in attendance, but no one wants to speak regarding this matter.
Okay, thank you. So the applicant not being present, there's no rebuttal. So at this time, I'll close the public hearing. And do we have a motion?
Move denial.
Second.
Commissioner Smith moved denial with a second by Commissioner Cohen. And hearing no further discussion, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Kemp?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno?
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E2. This is a minor modification, personal appearance 20-0977. Commissioners, this is in the Tonona-Sassa area. The modification, the plan development itself permits 16 single-family homes. This is primarily an internal modification to accommodate the retention pond location and also redesign the internal roadway to provide for additional roadway improvements, including a cul-de-sac and some expansion and contraction of right-of-way in different areas of the site. It also provides for an off-site easement for a retention area located to the north of the site. Staff is recommending approval. This generally stays within the same concept of the original zoning plan and only changes slight modifications internally to the site. Again, staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Thank you. And if we can have, this is a public hearing. If we can have the applicant, please. The applicant has up to 15 minutes.
Hi, my name is Matthew Norman. I am the engineer of record for this project and the applicant's representative. The applicant is Brothers 4 of the Nosassa LLC. They own this PD in which they were permitted to build a 14-unit subdivision under, I don't have the, yeah, I do, under PD 05-0201. It was an 18-acre PD. It was last modified in 2005 under the 05-0201 number. That PD, however, did not quite provide enough area for stormwater management that would meet county standards. In fact, the only area that they designated for stormwater area is also in a floodplain. So not only was the area very insufficient, it would also impact a floodplain, requiring comps, and then thus making the stormwater area smaller. So our applicant, Brothers 4, they own the area, the property to the north of the PD. So what we're trying to do is get permission from the board to allow the PD to have an off-site easement on the contiguously owned property to the north to add the appropriate stormwater management features that we need to build the site to county standards. And then also build a slightly smaller stormwater area at the entrance as it comes in off of Sly Avenue. As stated in the introduction as well, we are slightly modifying the way the road maneuvers internally. It doesn't affect the connections to the exterior roads. It doesn't affect traffic layout. I believe it improves traffic flow internally because it straightens out the road instead of swerving throughout. It also gives us enough room to build the cul-de-sac according to county standards. So ultimately, we believe these changes don't affect the surrounding areas. They don't increase the approved lots. I believe it was mentioned we were trying to propose 16 units. We're actually only proposing 14 as the original PD and the modification subsequent to the original all proposed. So we're not increasing density. We believe that this stormwater area will be much more in a much better location, especially given the surrounding subdivision or surrounding residential areas. Before, the stormwater area would have gone straight between two residential properties. Now the stormwater area is going to be to the north of the subdivision and more of a commercial industrial property. And again, that property is owned by our property owner as well. So there should be no conflicts in getting the easements necessary since it's all the same company. That we've already discussed this with the development services. They are on board with the easement to provide the appropriate stormwater management features. So that is the rundown. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. We'll move now to proponent testimony. Anyone present in support of the application? Proponent testimony? Doesn't appear we have any. Opponent testimony? Anyone opposed to the application? Opponent testimony? Also doesn't appear we have any. So would you like to waive any rebuttal that you're entitled to, Mr. Norman?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, and so at this time, we'll move, this is the close the public hearing, move to the board. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions for the applicant. Given that the wetlands is being positioned off-site, although adjacent, which is great, and a historical pathway to the property to the north is being eliminated, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward into the future, saying, okay, what's happening with the property to the north that appears to now be, boxed in, whereas access to other roads is possible. The design of this particular layout does not create connectivity to the communities to the north and west, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm curious about the cul-de-sac patterning that isn't really creating connectivity to the property to the north, and cutting off connectivity to the north. But I understand the need to create the wetlands and to address the wetlands in the area, and I appreciate the accommodation that's been made by the common ownership. But I'm curious about the decision not to create a more connected community to the property of the north if there are plans to develop to the north. Is it possible to ask the applicant to address those questions?
Sure, the applicant is recognized.
Sure. Absolutely. That is a great question. The property to the north, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. It does have connectivity to Taylor Road, I believe. I'm trying to pull this. So bear with me a little bit. I'm not at my office computer. I'm on a little laptop here. So let's see. I am on the property appraiser site. I will try to share my screen here. Let's see. But what I'm trying to say is
Yeah, I'm wondering if staff.
Yeah, it's part of the backup, so the staff should be able to.
Yes.
Mr. Norman.
Okay, great. So as I try to figure out how to share this, and I think I
There we
got
go.
it.
It's like you have it.
Perfect. Okay. I am trying. The site to the north operates as a contractor. It's a site used by a contracting company owned by Brothers 4 called ACCA. And ACCA does have access. It is contiguous to another property they own right here. And that property is the main site that ACCA operates off of, and it accesses off of Taylor Road right here. So yes, we are removing this historical access that comes to our property right there. We're going to be proposing a maintenance access path about right in here that will allow us to our property to access the stormwater pond. But this site will still have connectivity to Taylor Road through this. You can kind of see the road right here. So there is still an internal connection that gets this property to Taylor Road.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious because it does look boxed in, and
Sure.
as long as there is a memorandum of understanding or an agreement between the different properties, whether they're owned by the common one person or one entity, or as long as there's an agreement across those properties, I would see that this would be a workable solution. However, I am going to mention I'm not a fan of cul-de-sacs. And if there is plans to develop residential to the north, this eliminates the connectivity between the two communities. So just saying, it appeared as though there was an opportunity, and the design here doesn't include that, but that may have been historical in nature when we weren't as focused on connectivity as we are now with our land use plans. So I'll stop there, but thank you very much for your information. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know if staff, just I'll just recognize if staff has any further comments to add with regards to this.
Commissioners, just to note that there is a easement proposed from this site to the off-site pond, and both projects will be required to come in as one project that will ensure that access can be provided as shown on the site plan.
Thank you. Any further discussion by the board at this point? And do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second. Commissioner Overman moved to approve. Commissioner Smith seconded. Any further, seeing no further discussion, can we have a roll call vote?
Kemp,
Yes?
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno?
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E3, personal appearance 20-1106. This is a proposal to modify plan development to increase the single-family lots. There's currently 36 approved. The applicant is proposing one additional lot, 37. To accomplish this, they're reducing the lot size from 7,150 to 6,000 square feet. To accomplish the compatibility, they're primarily, and I'll refer to the site plan, in the area of the east, and the area of the north, they're increasing the setbacks from 25 feet along this perimeter to the east and to the north to 35 feet. So they're increasing the setback, although they're reducing some of the other lot standards, and that's the way they're proposing to achieve the compatibility. Again, this is for one additional lot. Staff reviewed it, found it to be consistent and compatible with the original intent and plan development, and we are recommending approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll recognize the applicant for up to 15 minutes. Is the applicant present? Do we have someone present for the applicant?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Reed Hayden and the applicant here, and I'm fully endorse staff's report and recommendation. The original plan development with the 36 lots based on the geometric criteria of the lot size, we were unable to get that number of lots on the site. We're not modifying the underlying land use at all. And based on that, I think 39 lots were allowed. We do believe that the community that we're proposing is compatible with the surrounding area. We've had discussions with the surrounding area, with the homeowners associations and some of the individual residents, and no one is here in opposition, I do believe. So we're excited about the project and really don't have much else to say.
Thank you. And we will call now on anyone present with proponent testimony in support of the project. Is there anyone present who would like to speak? Apparently none. Hearing none, we'll move to proponent testimony. Anyone against the project, opposed to the project, who would like to speak? Hearing none. Would you like to waive your rebuttal at this time?
Yes, I would.
Yes. And thank you. And we'll close the public hearing. And do we have a motion by the board? We'll move to board discussion.
Move approval.
Commissioner Smith moved approval, seconded by Commissioner Overman. I did not see any hands raised and no apparent discussion by the board. Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Kemp,
Yes?
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E4, personal appearance 20-1310. Commissioners, this is a plan development. This is an existing plan development that implemented the RP2 standards. Michelle Heinrich of our staff is going to walk you through the changes proposed in the site plan, and staff is available for conditions as well. Thank you, or questions as well. Thank you.
Doing it right. Good morning, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. Just to orient you to the project area, this was originally PD 180304. That was a 358-acre PD with a northern area, which is shown up here, referred to as Rodine, and a southern area shown here with the star that is referred to as the Grove. The PRS modification before you today is only going to be addressing the Grove, and that area is 178 acres in size. It's approved for 356 residential units and some square footage for a village node. And this graphic here, which we took out of our staff report, shows an overview of the 4 requests being presented today. The first one is to relocate an access point along the western boundary, and that would be shifting northward. The previous location accommodated a 250-foot buffer along the southern area of the adjacent property, and that is shown as number 1. In number 2 in the let me see, for your orientation, right over in here. And this was at the request of the property owner, which was folio 77850.0000. And that property owner was situated right in this area. Since that original rezoning, this property has been acquired by the applicant, but it does remain outside of the PD. So therefore, because that property owner is no longer there seeking the separation, the applicants have proposed that under this PD or this PRS. As you know, we currently do have a moratorium that restricts perimeter buffer reductions, except when the reduction is to provide for connectivity to an adjacent right-of-way. To respond to this restriction and to also not reduce the buffer, the applicant has provided additional buffer area to offset the roadway. And that is shown in this graphic, which is also in your staff report. So what they have done is they have changed that buffer depth from 250 feet to 300 feet to offset the 50-foot wide road that will go through it, shown over here. The second request is to add an additional access point along the western boundary. This new access point is identified as number 3 in figure 3, and the subject buffer area is identified as number 4 in figures 2 and 3. The new access point provides connectivity to the adjacent right-of-way, as allowed for consideration by this moratorium, and more access options for the project. Thirdly, the applicant seeks to add an access point along the eastern boundary. This is shown as number 5 in figure 3. This increases the number of access opportunities along Shelley Lane. And under the 2018 rezoning, a waiver to providing the buffer in this location was not required. Lastly, the applicant also seeks to reconfigure the internal roadway. And in our staff report, we provided kind of a before and after graphic for you. And figure 4 shows the approved, while figure 5 shows the proposed. As you'll see, it's generally the same with some slight modifications, and staff has reviewed that and found that it still provides for good internal connectivity between the pockets and maintains external connectivity. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to proponent testimony. Is there anyone in support of the project that would like to speak at this time? Hearing none. Is there opponent testimony? Anyone against the project that would like to speak at this time? Would the applicant like to waive their rebuttal?
Commissioner,
Yes?
Commissioner, the applicant is here to speak, and there is opposition testimony, so we probably should hear from the applicant first. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, I'm sorry. Pardon me. I thought it first. My mistake. Applicant, please, you're recognized.
Commissioner.
I
Because
don't think we're not
by.
hearing this.
Hear me now? Okay. Commissioners, again, I'll restart. William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. This request looks like a lot on paper because of where it is and what it is, but it is actually just a bit of a redraw of an existing approved plan development. We worked exceptionally hard with staff to make sure that we were doing everything within the parameters of the moratorium. And we very much appreciate all their help to get here today with this request. It really is just a simple redraw of some access points in the internal circulation, which we are happy to answer any questions about. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to proponent testimony. Is there anyone present in support of the application that would like to speak? Proponent testimony. Hearing none. We will move to opponent testimony. Anyone present who would like to speak against the application? Opponent testimony. I understand that there were some present.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Yes,
Me
sir.
and Mr. Franklin have not been sworn in.
Okay, clerk. We have the clerk swear.
Do you swear or affirm
These-
do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, you're recognized. If you could please state your name.
Buddy Harwell, Baum, Florida, board member, Baum Association, and President Gibsonton, Concerned Citizens of Gibsonton. I'd just like to welcome the two new commissioners and looking forward to working with you in the future. Just want to point out this was before you 2 years ago. The applicant at that time, you did approve a PD on this property, and you gave waivers for the 250-foot buffer. Of the 70% buffering that was required at that time, you only gave a 3%. They only have 400 feet of 250-foot buffering, and now they're asking to waive that. I just think that's ridiculous, and I hope this is one of the issues that we get to work on with the RP2 moratorium.
Thank you,
I got
Mr.
some
Harwell.
documents I'd like
Oh, I'm
to,
sorry. Okay, thank you.
As you can see here, this is the original application. This is where they want the do away with the buffer to 250 foot. There's only 400 feet of that buffer at that time. Why do we have buffers if we're just going to give them away later on? I want to show this right here is their property that they want the buffer. Also, where they want to put the other easement or driveway is down here. Now, this piece of property right here, I looked at whenever I came out to Baum, and all of this is wetlands. And from what I was told, this was wetlands too. So now they want to put a easement through the wetlands, which I know that's a subject for, I guess, later on in this process. But I don't understand why the average citizen has to delineate their property before they can even come to the county, yet the seems like the developers get to do that later on. And then whenever it's shown that something is encroachment in the easement, they just come back and ask for a waiver.
Mr. Harwell, you might want to move that down a little bit just so we can see the top of it on the screen. I'm sorry. Just the area that you were pointing to as wetlands. If you move it down just a little bit, it might be more visible. Yes, I think that does it. That does it. That was the direction. I just wanted people, the board and others to be able to see what you were pointing to.
But right in here, they want to put another driveway. This is where they're asking to put redo the driveway because of they want to do away with the 250 foot now that they own Mr. Scoggins' property. But I also want to point out right across the street is the church, and that's right where their driveway comes out also. Also, this is where they want to put the driveway. This is the south end of Scoggins' property, the north end of where they want to put the driveway. There is a ditch all along this south portion of the property. There's a pond back there on Scoggins' property that should be considered wetlands. This ditch could possibly be wetlands also. This is the south end and where they want to put the other driveway through the possible wetlands. I just ask, there again, why do we have the bufferings if we're just going to keep giving them away? I hope to, solve this issue with this moratorium and the process going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in opposition at this time? There's a little more time yes, sir.
Jamie Franklin, Baum, Florida, 15064 Baum Road. I've got two things to talk about. One of them is a 250-foot buffering that our friend and neighbor had at one time. Now they've bought that property, and all of a sudden, the people that live next to this property, I would think we should automatically get that 250 foot. It shouldn't just automatically disappear. They don't know they need to ask for that 250 foot. The county does not help anybody ask for that 250 foot. So I don't think it's a right deal to happen. Now, if you do authorize this and let them move that drive over on this piece of property that they bought to get that 250 foot, that driveway is going to go right out into basically the church property and interfere with them people coming in and out. It's just not a good deal as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Is there anyone else at this time who would like to speak in opposition? Anyone else?
I believe that's everyone, ma'am.
Thank you. And we will now allow for applicant rebuttal at this time. You have 5 minutes.
Commissioners, William Malloy again. Just 2 points to address that I heard. Regarding the buffer, we are absolutely stopped from affecting the area of a buffer that's existing and approved in any capacity right now. There is no reduction in the 250-foot buffer. Where we've placed the road in that buffer, we've actually mitigated and offset the area that was taken up by the new road. There's no buffer impacts whatsoever. And then to the wetlands question, the application has been reviewed by EPC and Natural Resources, and they had no objections to what we were proposing. I understand that doesn't mean something can't change at site development, but it's been reviewed and everything is approvable as it stands and as it's drawn. I am happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. And it looks as if we have closed a public hearing at this time. And Commissioner Smith, I see your hand is up. You are recognized.
Thank you. And thanks very much to the citizens of Baum for coming out and taking their time to participate in this process to ensure that their community in the rural area, outside the urban service area, stays with their community character, their rural character, like their hats say, keep Balm rural. Can we see the aerial map that is on page 17 of the backup? I think that's the best one to take a look at the road configurations that we're considering impacting today.
So we go 17.
I think you're gonna have to turn it to make it true north. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. All right, that'll do. I was hoping for the next one, but I think that's page 16. Do you have, yeah, that one. That's it.
Can we see
And there we go.
I did that.
That rotated. Okay. Because I want to point out to the commissioners who may be unfamiliar with this Balm area, some of the issues with roads in that area. And if you could turn it so it's like rotated counterclockwise. Yeah. Great. Now you can see, commissioners, at the top, 672. County Road 672 runs east-west across the top of this. And that's Balm Road in some places. It's Balm Picnic in some places. Running north and south.
Excuse me, can we continue to see the map, please?
It's still there.
Oh, it's not for me. Okay.
If you go up to your layout, maybe, and pin the HTV program, you'll see what's being showed. Okay. Do you have it, Commissioner Kemp?
Yes, I do.
On the right side, on the eastern border, is Shelley Lane running up and down. And Shelley Lane is above, north of 672, that is Bomboyette Road. But south of, at 672, Bomboyette Road kind of ends. And as you cross 672 heading south, you end up on Shelley Lane. Shelley Lane is a dirt road. It's Shelley Lane, not Shelley Lanes, because it's so narrow that if two cars are passing each other, coming and going, they're going to have to rely on each other's good manners. All right. So if we're going to put, well, we are going to, it's already been approved for 356 houses here. And we are today going to make decisions about adding access points here. We need to understand what's going to happen to this little old dirt road way out in the rural countryside of Balm called Shelley Lane. But the zoning conditions so far don't give us all the information we need to make that decision today. This is because this was approved back before most of us got on the board in an old way with old language they used to use and an old way they used to do design exceptions for roads in the county. And so the zoning conditions that are on this today are written in a way that we no longer do design exceptions. We used to have, the county, before I got here, before most of you got here, used to have the board approve a zoning and then leave the design exceptions to an administrative process that was out of sight of the board and inaccessible to the public. We don't do it this way now. Now we bring design exceptions forward to the board and the public in the whole public process of the land use hearing, so we can all publicly review and understand and decide where we'll get the streets built to county standards, where we'll get bike lanes and sidewalks, et cetera, and where we'll have to make a compromise on those standards for any reason. This proposal still has the old language, and it goes like this in condition 23. Just keep the map there, but it goes like this, condition 23 on page 14. As Shelley Lane is a substandard local roadway, man, I'll say it's a little old dirt road. I mean, it's barely 2 cars. As Shelley Lane is a substandard local roadway, the developer will be required to improve Shelley Lane between its here and there on this part to current county standards. The developer will be required to improve Shelley Lane to current county standards unless otherwise approved in accordance with section 6.0.04.02.b of the Hillsborough County LDC. Deviations from TTM might be, well, according to 1.7.2 and other applicable sections, blah, blah, blah. So it sounds like the developer will be required to improve Shelley Lane to current county standards because it says that, but it also says that will happen unless otherwise approved in accordance with section blah, blah, blah in the LDC and section blah, blah, blah of the TTM. And I know from experience as a citizen dealing with these issues that what that means is that this road would be built according to some agreement made between the developer and our county staff with no further public process or oversight, no opportunity for this board to review and approve it, and more importantly, with no opportunity for the public to see it and comment on it. And then we have condition 24, similarly on page 15, and that leaves the board and the public out of the decisions on how the development will handle Balm Waimama Road. So there are, in this zoning before us, there are several options for the intersection of Balm Waimama Road with 672. There's 3 options. And let's see, maybe we can look at those options. They are on page 24 of the backup. Page 24 of the backup shows those 3 options for handling that the developer may choose to handle Balm Waimama Road. That's it. So you can see them on the right side there in that right column. There's 3 different options. One would cut off Balm Waimama Road before it connects to 672 and turn it into a cul-de-sac inside this subdivision. Another option would cut off Balm Waimama Road and reroute traffic from that road through this subdivision. Balm Waimama Road is a very old route connecting Balm and Waimama. The part of Balm Waimama Road that these 3 options would alter or impact is the very part where the Balm Civic Association meets in the Balm Park and Community Center. And I think the residents of those communities have a right to expect that we will make the final decisions about which way this road will go, and that we will do that in a public hearing where they will be involved. And it won't be a decision made behind closed doors with no public access, just administratively with staff. Today, we're being asked to approve new traffic patterns and connections with external roads without having a lot of these details finalized. It's now time to have more detail about the traffic plan submitted before we take the next step of deciding where the access points should go on these roads, Balm Waimama and Shelley Lane, and how the internal roads will connect with the external roads. It's time to understand whether Shelley Lane will be brought up to county standards or not. It's time to understand how Balm Waimama will be altered or not. We should understand these things before we approve more access points onto these roads. You know, and just to bring it home, commissioners, you know, I'm going to ask you to imagine that maybe up in Tampa, somewhere you're more familiar with, if there was a developer going to take out some buildings on Florida Avenue back a few blocks back and build a little subdivision, and came to city council and said, we want you to approve this, and we want you to approve some reconfiguration of the roads, but just approve it with these options of how we're going to bring the roads through, when we might change the course of Florida Avenue and have it come through our subdivision to Central Avenue, or we might put a roundabout there, or we might have it dead end in our reroute it and have it dead end in our subdivision. But you all just leave that to us after you approve the change in traffic patterns, and we'll surprise you later with how it all turns out. You know, I just don't see that happening in Tampa, and I don't think it should happen in Balm. So my motion is to continue this item and bring it back with traffic patterns and plans for these roads spelled out the way we do now, have the design exceptions spelled out the way we do now, and bringing them to the BOCC and the public, and to settle on one option for Balm Road, so we know what we're approving, and to allow public comment and board review of the traffic patterns as we review these additional access points on these roads, and to reconsider the buffer that was brought up, the buffering standards that was brought up, and to conduct a public meeting inviting the Balm Civic Association and the public from those communities, where county staff can explain the options for these roads and explain how they can participate in the public hearing, and then include more detail from all of us to review and decide in a public process. So that's my motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Overman. And Commissioner White, I see your hand is raised. You're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to say that Commissioner Smith brings up some excellent points here. I'll just state for the record that I'm not as concerned about the buffering, because the developer has acquired the parcel that the buffering was initially put in place for. But, you know, as a guy that grew up in South County, I can tell you that that was a stretch of what used to be known as the back roads between South County and the Brandon area. That is no longer the case. There is intensive traffic pressure developing along that corridor, especially with the growth of Fishhawk and surrounding communities. A lot of folks are using that corridor to move back and forth from that area to South County. As it stands, there's already kind of an awkward offset between Balm Waimama and I guess it would be Balm Boyette or Boyette. You know, I don't know how that would fit into the equation of possibly reconfiguring roads. I mean, there might be an opportunity to make it safer and have it as an aligned intersection and no longer have that awkward offset. But regardless, I agree with Commissioner Smith that I would certainly like to see more specificity in what comes forward to the board. I don't know whether or not the applicant would have time to work with staff and involve the citizens and bring that, you know, back in, I guess, presumably a month. I guess we'd be deferring it to the next meeting, but, you know, I'd certainly like to see just as much specificity as possible.
Commissioners, on the timing, I would suggest continuing it. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask Mr. Gormley.
Sorry. Yeah, I would suggest continuing this to March 9th at 9 a.m. That may or may not be enough time to go through the road redesigns and hold an outreach meeting in the community. But if it is not, then we can continue that further if that's not sufficient time to have the road work and the community meeting done. I do, to your point, I believe that the intent of those three options were to address that sort of unusual angle at which Balm Waimama intersects with Balm Road, but understand the board's direction and preference on the specificity with the design.
Yeah, and I understand that Balm Waimama, you know, runs right in front of the Civic Association and everything, but I also recognize that there could be a silver lining here, because there is a lot of truck traffic on 672, and that little jog, as I like to call it, when you know, let's say you're headed south on Boyette or Balm Boyette, you make a right, then you're already making an immediate left on the Balm Waimama, and that can be, frankly, a little dicey with some of the truck traffic on 672. So I look at this as a glass half full, that we have some real opportunities here for safety enhancements. So, and I guess I'll just state for the record that unless the maker of the motion objects, I guess per Mr. Gormley's comments, the record would reflect that the deferral would be to March 9th at 9 a.m.
I'll just restate the motion withdraw and restate it to continue to March 9th with those instructions included that I read before.
And I'll still second that.
Yes, and I actually think we have Commissioner Overman seconding, but I'll put you down as well, Commissioner White. And Commissioner Overman, you're recognized as well.
Excellent, thank you. And I think many of the points that have been brought up, by the applicant as well as Commissioner Smith and White, I agree with. One of the key issues we have is that this corridor, the Balm-Waimama Road, and the road, all the intersecting roads here are part of, with the exception of the little tiny road that goes to the community center, are part of our network in East and South County, especially in the Balm-Waimama area. This is part of our corridor preservation plan. And there is reference to the current, county standards to a road and the corridor. But as we all know, in the process of identifying opportunities to do it better in terms of our transportation network safety and underlying road design, we have yet to update many of our county standards to reflect the Vision Zero goals that we have for our growth, especially in an area where additional road network and transportation access is critically important to improve safety and to allow connectivity between communities. While I appreciate the applicant's additional access points and actually creating a road that connects all the way straight through, that actually creates some connectivity, I do believe that it's critically important that we address not only the road structure and how it will go with the idea that that is going to be a major east-west connector to the north of this particular property, as well as to the south. But in addition to that, that creates connectivity throughout the entire area as it continues to grow. And so I would appreciate if there is more clarity on page 14, where we make reference to those road accomplishments, and then as a consequence of that, really address the issues associated with the buffering that are brought forward by the community members that are concerned about what that looks like. If that reduction ends up being what is necessary to address future land, road network expansion, then obviously that reduction is going to cause great problems for the community and what they're wanting their community to look like, and address safety as well. So I'll stop there, but I'll support the motion to continue.
Thank you. At this time, I don't see any other comments. Four of the members on this board were not here when it was first approved. I'll say that I was on the board when this was first approved, but I was a no on this, on the not the prevailing side. So anything we can do to approve or to improve this plan, I think needs to be done. And I thank you, Commissioner Smith, for your very astute analysis, as usual, of all the issues involved here and explaining to us all kind of the outline of what exists there. And also, Commissioner White, your comments much appreciated to educate the board and the public with regards to this. And also, thank you to the Balm community members who, as ever, are letting us know about their community and their concerns and insights about this. So with that, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioners Overman and White, and seeing no further discussion. Did you still have your hand up, Commissioner White?
No, ma'am, I forgot to lower it. I'll do that right.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure. And seeing no further discussion, if we can take a roll call vote?
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta?
I'm going to show this real quick. Thank you, Commissioners. That brings us to item E6 on the agenda. This is personal appearance 21-0160. Is the graphic up? I'm going to refer to the graphic just to give you a brief orientation. The site is located south of College Avenue and just to the east of 10th Street. The buffer on this site, and I should note that the site has a 600,000 square feet of light industrial uses. It's a multiple use site that also has a requirement for a child care center, and it also has a plant farm. This particular modification deals with the screening that resides within the 30-foot buffer, the regulatory requirement for the screening. And the area that we're talking about is north of the site, along this area here, and also south of the site in this area here. The applicant is proposing to change the screening requirement. Right now, there's a requirement for a type B buffer, which essentially requires tree plantings and a 6-foot vertical screen. The applicant is proposing to use alternative plantings to provide the same amount of screening. We've worked with our natural resources staff, and for context, our natural resources staff includes arborists and staff that have provide guidance to us on the type of screening that tree plantings would achieve and how fast that could be achieved. Our staff has evaluated the applicant's proposal and determined that the tree plantings that are proposed would provide a similar type of screening that would be acceptable and be very similar to what would be required in the type B. Staff is recommending approval of the alternative screening, and we also have a very detailed site plan and planting evaluation. In the backup, we have Israel Monsanto of our staff available if you'd like to see more detail on that. We also have natural resources staff online if you'd like more, have any questions on that matter. But having said that, generally I can say we are recommending approval with the conditions for the alternative buffer. We feel that it would achieve the same amount of screening or a very similar amount of screening, and we are recommending approval, and we're available for questions or more detail if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll begin open the public hearing. And if we could have an applicant presentation of up to 15 minutes. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Commissioner. David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, 33602, Suite 2100. For the petitioner. I have a short presentation for you. Staff did a very good job of giving the overview for this particular project. This is the same graphic used by staff. As you can see, this site is along the railroad track in the Ruskin area. It is surrounded primarily by multifamily, some single family that's zoned commercial, but is currently occupied by single family off of 4th. This just summarizes the request. Essentially, we are keeping the 30-foot buffer. It's still a type B screen, but the plant mix that we're proposing is a little bit different. A row of live oaks, which are evergreen shade trees, spread 40 feet apart, areas of royal point sienna trees and clusters of sable palms, and this second row behind it, staggered behind the live oaks. And these areas include places where there's existing vegetation along the neighboring property lines that helps complement the screening. In those areas that are immediately adjacent to single-family residences, we will have the live oaks 20 foot on center, and it will kind of give you a graphic representation. It's indicated by staff, and where these red arrows are shown, these are the areas that we are discussing for the alternative plant material. This gives you an aerial view of the property on the south. There's two small homes on the south of the property. This is the end of the property that is not being developed with non-residential uses. You can see the two manufacturing buildings, which are all enclosed manufacturing, nothing outside. This will give a different view looking from 4th. The properties here just north of the buildings, the commercial buildings, these are the ones that are zoned commercial but used for residential. And as you can see, there's significant vegetation on most of those properties all along those buffers. However, where the single-family home is up on 4th, we're looking to maintain those evergreen 20-foot on-center live oaks with the same mix of plants. Give you a different view here. You can see it a little bit more clearly, the multifamily development that has significant vegetation on their side of the fence. The fence is already in place. This is the detail sheet 2 of the plan. We've gone through a great effort to identify where, I got a little blurred there, but where the plantings will occur and how it protects the existing single-family homes. Again, since this operation is all totally enclosed and there's great distance from the people on 10th all the way back, we felt that it was appropriate to have alternative screening that will provide for a screen at maturity of what is shown in the illustration. The Royal Poinciana trees grow quite large and provide a great canopy, and also provides a great mix of plant material in these buffers. This is the condition that has been modified. It identifies all the folio numbers that we were originally protecting with the screening, and makes it very clear that the proposed screening that we propose by this condition and as indicated on the site plan is what is to be provided. We have had several calls from residents asking what this proposal was about, and none of them objected to the request. With that, we're here to answer any questions and hopefully request your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. We will move now to proponent testimony. Anyone to speak in support of this project? Is there any public present to do that? Hearing none, I'll move to opponent testimony. Anyone to speak against this project?
We do have someone, yes. Please stand by.
Okay, thank you.
How do you do? My name is Louis Blasco. Good morning to everybody. 807 10th Avenue Southwest, Ruskin, Florida. I just have some more paperwork to grab. I was wondering if I could request the original gentleman's map to show the entire area.
If we could provide that, staff.
You want me to just? Yeah, this one will work. The one that he had the same thing. This one? Oh, yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right. I don't know how to do this. Anyways, I purchased. Do you want to point at something? Yeah, I do. Thank you very much. Is that center? That's the expert to do it. Thank you very much, guys. Okay. All right. If I have
Very good.
Figured out properly here. This.
Sir, you starting to speak?
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I live where my properties are around here. 805, 807. Hope I didn't just screw up the screen. And I bought 2 lots there in 2014. They were extremely heavily wooded. I have some, this is what was proposed. Thank you very much for your help, sir. I'm very nervous up there, pardon me. All right, so this was what was originally proposed. And what has happened is this pond shifted all the way over to 8th Street, so it's like all contained on the eastern half of the property now where this pond moved over. The original people that cleared the entire lot was as densely wooded as you could possibly see this area here. Those are my lots. They were extremely thick. It took an awful lot to clear that, as well as you can imagine how much clearing it took to clear the applicant's lots. As neighbors, we were all in favor of anybody that would come in and take care of all of that acreage because it was an abandoned fish farm. So previous to the hearing that was originally advertised, like this one was advertised with the signs, there were signs there, but previous to that, there was a news, ABC Action News, that actually put this map as a part of their news story that was a couple minutes long, where Ms. Calagero, I believe, acted as the spokesperson for B&M Precision, who explains that they were going to clear all the pepper trees, get rid of all the shacks, get rid of all the blight, and it would all be gone. So we were quite happy there was no need for me to show up in a few more days to that hearing, because this is what the proposal was. Since that point in time, it changed to where they're only utilizing the eastern portion of the property and moved the lake down, and they haven't addressed any best management practices along 10th Avenue since their initial clearing. So when I talked to the original site contractor that was there to bulldoze all the trees in and around all the fish ponds, he said that they would take care of the ribbon that was left up along 10th Avenue when they got this phase 2. That there was going to be another contractor that was going to be doing that. It's just a small ribbon that's there, and I was told it was just a blind to keep, basically to keep all the work hidden from the road. It was activity that they were trying to keep everybody from having to see, bulldozers and so forth. All the ponds that are on the back side of that. Excuse me a moment while I just get my pictures. These are pictures of what it looks like this, brother.
Sir, you do need to speak into the microphone still.
This is what it looks like today. These are pictures.
Sir, you need to speak into the microphone.
I apologize. These are pictures of what it looks like today. This is 10th Avenue. It's except for that one palm tree in the picture, it's 100% invasives, pepper trees. Recently, it's unusual to see that area mowed. It's usually not mowed. And I guess about 6 months ago, they just sprayed poison on the bottom of the swale. That's why you see all that brown. But that swale goes nowhere. They didn't put, like I said, best management practices at the 5 LiDAR images that identified the 5 locations where the water from the entire site, after it was graded, would run out to the swale from. So it constantly silted up this particular swale and then all the adjoining swales. This picture was taken yesterday with a drone. It's just up and over that cyclone fence, I'll call it. Looks like kind of like a junkyard fence with 3 rows of barbed wire that was just installed behind the Brazilian pepper screen for our benefit. Anyways, all these ponds are still filled with water, and you can't see them because of the Brazilian peppers are in the way. So the stink from the rotting vegetation in the fish ponds, that combined with the enormous amount of mosquitoes and no-see-ums, along with the fact that the swale does not actually drain. It's actually been turned into an elongated retention pond. It was originally supposed to run, pardon me, I have a, how do I show this thing? Oh boy, right? I don't know, can you see that thing? All right, this is a map given to me by the county of how the swale is supposed to flow. It's supposed to flow from east to west, and on the west side of my 807 address there, this one here, there's another very large swale in this 80-foot unimproved right-of-way. Was going to be 9th Street, but since 1950, it has not been used. But this entire thing is, the western half of it is just like a 30-foot swale. The water's supposed to flow south, under the road, under 10th Avenue, and then back into the wetlands on the applicant's property. It has been, dirt has been put in the way so that it no longer flows that way. Now everything flows toward the west on both sides of 10th Avenue, and it goes under the road and it goes north, up and then under College, and then it runs into an unimproved park that the county owns north of College, which is just south of an inlet on the north side. So what happens is, anytime it rains, the water comes off the applicant's property into that swale, runs to the west side of my lots, turns north because it can't go south anymore into the old wetlands that were there to mitigate all the storm water. So it turns north, and then it gets landlocked on the north side in that park because it doesn't punch through to the inlet that's, you could see on, maybe better on this map on the screen. So I didn't hear the applicant say he was going to put any new trees or attend to any of the residences that are along 10th Avenue. I look out daily at, all these. Can I get this projection back again, sir? This one. Okay. All right. I look out at that swale constantly full. It does eventually drain, but it may take a month now or so. All the green that you see in there, those are pepperberries. Those have been carried out to the river constantly by going down 10th Street to the other way that the property drains. This is just a view of some of the pepper trees that are along that street. They were clawed at from the inside with an excavator and a bucket, just snapping all the branches off and pretty much just dropping them into the swale. And since they were dropping the bottom of the swale and the club cars that come by to clean out the ditch so that the county can possibly mow, since it's always full, they don't stop to clean out all those branches. So I have, and my neighbors have, for the last 3 or 4 years, cleaned out the swale to give it a fighting chance. It's just filled with, because it looks the way it looks, everybody that drives by uses it as a dumping ground. They throw their beer cans and bottles and whatnot. This is the other side of the street. This is the residence side of the street, where we all maintain up to the edge of pavement, as opposed to the petitioner. Hasn't maintained any of that property with the fish ponds that are still full of stagnant water with rotting vegetation, that swale that's filled with rotting vegetation with water that goes nowhere and then goes up beside my property. So it really bothers me now. And I've written, does anybody know who my commissioner is in that area? Who's the commissioner for this?
Sir, you have 4 commissioners, 3 countywide, including myself and Commissioner Overman and Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Smith lives near there as well. And but I don't want to take up your testimony time, but we will make sure we'll have somebody contact you and make sure you know, as well as I've believe it's probably Commissioner Cohen in District 1, but we'll have to get to you on that. And I just don't want to take up.
Okay. I don't want to take up any more time either. It's just if you knew, I wrote Commissioner Cohen, I think it was like in November or after the election, just iterating a couple of pages of information about trying to contact the county over the last couple of years with dozens of emails to different departments. I just would like to get to somebody that can look at the voluminous amount of information I have regarding no design has been put forth how to handle where the stormwater goes. I can't talk to anybody at the county. They say that the issue with the pepper trees is simply an aesthetic. The petitioner says that, it isn't his to maintain, yet we as residents, this is a residential neighborhood with this commercial business nestled into it. And I believe that the aesthetics do have something to do with the way that they're leaving. Are their intentions to clear the pepper trees and all the other invasives and the weeds and what's behind the fence and fill the fish ponds that are just out of sight that you can only see with the drone, and put up some new trees to beautify their lot, hopefully in front of the chain link barbed wired fence that was just installed, so that we don't have to see that. I mean, after all, this is a residential neighborhood, and although we appreciate them doing some modifications here, it completely changed from what was originally proposed to what it actually is now. And I can't seem to find anybody to talk to about all the information that I'd like answered. Many complaints that I've issued have come back as closed by the county, but sometimes they come back closed as 10th Avenue Southeast, and I'm at 10th Avenue Southwest. Some come out and have used their great all to actually clean out the swales, but they didn't clean out the swale on the north side of the street. They made mine deeper, all my neighbors deeper, all up and down 10th Avenue on the north side of the street. They also cleaned out the giant swale that goes from my house past the church and school up through the park where it stops. They cleaned that out, so they made it deeper on our side and in that swale, so now it just holds more water because it does not relieve itself anywhere. So now it just stays deep and stagnant. It's a horrible smelling, horrible looking, not planned out for stormwater area that I don't want to go forward with approving anything other than anywhere a resident abuts this development. It has to be looked at from the residents' viewpoint. And
Thank you.
I will conclude by saying I would love to talk to whoever I can that can kind of explain it. I'll work with the owner or his representative, but I've written the owner and I haven't gotten any response. I've written the contractors, I haven't gotten any response. I wrote the commissioner and I haven't gotten any response. I've talked to dozens of people at the county and haven't been able to sit down with anybody to look at the planning and the implementation of the closeout of this project. With that, I'll conclude and hope that we can actually have postpone this.
Your time is up, sir. Your time is up. But I just want to assure you that we've heard you loud and clear, and you've made a compelling case, which may even be, we will have to do follow-up otherwise as well. But thank you very much for coming. And at this time, I'll give the applicant 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just one thing, I'll commit to contacting the owner and have our representative, the owner's representative, discuss with him some of his questions. And also, if the county would have the either stormwater department or the maintenance section maybe participate in that conversation. This area of the site was originally, this entire area was set up as I'll try to get the graphic here of the plan, as potential retention and floodplain compensation. As we went out there with the change in the floodplain maps, The location of that pond was moved to reflect the location of actually the floodplains and where you could actually accomplish the required retention and stormwater. This area, we've also indicated on our approval for a nursery and plant and tree farm. That part of the site has not been under development. There's no planned development for it right now. The ditch that he identified is in the public right-of-way. We take no access to that road, but we will be more than happy to meet with him and also hopefully the either maintenance unit or stormwater folks, discuss what his concerns are, whether it's from our property or just in the ditch in general. But it really has nothing to do with the specific request for the specific locations for the alternative screening. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we have a couple commissioners who would like to speak. And I just want to, I guess at this time, I'm just going to ask Mr. Gormley to please address at least what the applicant, the opponent, and I'm sorry I didn't catch his name at the beginning, in terms of our code enforcement or the property. It's been said that that's public property and a county responsibility. Could you just please speak to that, Mr. Gormley, before we even start discussion?
Yes, Commissioners, I'll just say that we will get this gentleman's contact information and be sure that we follow up with him. I believe that the area that he's discussing on 10th Avenue was a county ditch, and it appears that he's been engaged with maintenance, county maintenance staff on the status of that ditch. We can bring that team into the discussion with him and the discussion with the developer. It is correct that the area currently is proposed for a tree farm, but I understand that the ditch issue may be something that the county has a role in.
Thank you. I'm going to move now to close the public hearing and move now to Commissioner Smith. You're recognized.
Thank you. And Mr. Gormley, quick question. You said it's approved for a tree farm, but there's also light industrial approved. It wasn't supposed to be medical manufacturing or something along those lines?
Yes, ma'am. The site plan has those uses on the eastern side of the site. The originally approved site plan did have this area for retention, floodplain compensation, with a notation that the exact delineation of the areas was subject to final design, which is why the pond moved to the east and didn't fill that whole area. The request before the board today would have that area designated as a tree farm. It is not yet so designated, but yes, manufacturing is the primary use, and that's on the east side of the site.
Thank you. I remember this particular zoning, and I remember the light manufacturing and the concerns that the neighbors had with the truck traffic. This was zoned, it kind of went through the process end of 2016, early 2017, and so it allowed the old way of administrative approval of design exceptions on the local roads, leaving them substandards. Commissioners, I hope you saw those pictures that Mr. Blasco showed of the condition of 10th Avenue or 10th Street. And let's see, and noted that it is just a, relatively narrow spread of asphalt crumbling on both sides, no lane markings, no shoulders with ditches on either side. It's a, it's a road that provided some concern to the residents when this was initially proposed for truck traffic in this area. I myself, as a citizen, before I contemplated running for office, provided public comment to this zoning hearing master in 2016, along with several other citizens, objecting to the design exceptions and objecting to the idea that the commission would approve this and then have the designs of the road determined in a non-public process administratively later, and we would not be able to be involved and engaged in how those roads developed. So let me ask Mr. Gormley, have those design exceptions been granted by staff in that old non-public process here, or is that still up in the air?
Commissioner, I would have to find out the answer to that and get back with you on that question.
I ride my bike on these substandard roads, and that's was part of my concern. I know a lot of people do, just in running errands and getting around. 10th Avenue is particularly troublesome, not only because there's no shoulders and crumbling edges with a ditch on the sides, but 10th Avenue comes off of 41, Highway 41, and then it turns 90 degrees before it comes up and over a railroad crossing right where there'll be a new truck entrance here. And so I'm wondering if, what options we will have to make that road safer for cyclists and pedestrians in the neighborhood once the design exceptions have been granted. If they're allowed to leave it substandard, how will this county ever come back and bring it up to our Vision Zero standards? And that's for Mr. Gormley.
Yes, Commissioner, I can find out the status of the improvements to 10th Avenue. I'll note that the project has limited impact on 10th Avenue, so it was not identified as a focus for the project, but can find out the status of those improvements and respond back to the board on that.
Thank you. We had variances allowed on 4th Street, College Avenue, and 10th Avenue. And so, before we go further with this, I think I would like to make a similar motion to what I made before. I think because the drainage ditches and how the drainage will be accommodated on this road will impact how much right-of-way is available later, not only on 10th, but on 4th and College along the edges of this industrial project. So I would like to make a motion to continue to March 9th and bring back the actual road designs, whether the exceptions have been granted already or whether they are still up for discussion, and some understanding of what our options are there, along with the drainage and how that will impact the right-of-way. And in the meantime, for staff to get with Mr. Blasco and any other neighbors that are concerned, so that when this comes back March 9th, we'll have a fuller perspective of how the road will end up and how the drainage will end up in this area.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith. Do we have a second at this time?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cohen. And we will, I see Commissioner White, are you finished, Commissioner Smith? Yeah. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say for the record that when the gentleman that spoke in opposition had asked who his single member district commissioner is earlier, I raised my hand, but I stand corrected. I believe that's in Commissioner Cohen's district. There's a little bubble in District 1 because of that east-west jog of 41, but you certainly couldn't get any closer to the district line. I think I could have a constituent reach out and shake hands with one of your constituents, Commissioner Cohen. But I'm going to support the motion on the floor, but I very much am going to want to make a decision, though, on March 9th, because this site has been incredibly important for the county from an economic development standpoint. And I want to make sure that, we don't you drag this issue on and not allow this applicant to move forward. My concern is with the Brazilian pepper that the person in opposition spoke to. He's, referring to an invasive species, a plant that's not only non-native but an aggressive grower. So I just want to say to Mr. Gormley, and this is, probably just an exercise that's outside of this minor modification, but to the extent that any of that is on county property along that corridor, I'd certainly like to see us engage in some removal efforts there. I mean, I know we're very much losing the battle with Brazilian pepper in this county, but while we're talking about it and while it's front and center, anything that the county has control of there, I'd like to see some removal efforts. I do know that the Land Development Code requires the removal of invasive species when there's development. I doubt that this minor modification would rise to that level, but even if it doesn't, I'd certainly like to ask the applicant as a courtesy, while they have crews out there working on the new screening, if we get to that point, if they might see if they can remove any of the Brazilian pepper that might be under their control. And very much look forward to the continued discussion on Commissioner Smith's concerns if this motion passes and we push it to March 9th.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you, and thank you very much. I have a question for staff and maybe the applicant as well. There's specific designs being offered as a buffer for not only attractiveness, but also to do what appears to be a reasonably good job of creating some level of absorption of water. Typically live oaks and other trees do absorb a significant amount of water, so it's a great way of ornamentally or, an attractive way of creating a buffer that is within our design that works well. However, it doesn't seem to go down 10th Avenue. It's only, in those two specific spots. And whether or not it becomes industrial or a daycare or a tree farm, if that design went along the parameter on 10th and we mitigated the Brazilian pepper, it would probably assist in addressing the drainage in the area that it sounds like is running up, or I'm not sure directionally, but running along 10th Avenue over to our property that is next to the inlet to allow for natural drainage, especially given now that the retention pond has been moved from its previous location. It sounds like a water study is necessary, or some kind of a water engineering study to be able to make sure that the absorption in that area can be managed appropriately without creating an environmental and health safety issue associated with mosquitoes and other, stuff that collects in nasty water. But more importantly, to address the Brazilian pepper issue. So I'm curious about why we're only seeing plant mitigation and aesthetic planting in the areas indicated on it rather than the entire area that buffers the residential zone. Can someone assist me on why that limitation other than money is making that call?
Commissioner,
staff and the applicant?
Staff? Mr. Gormley?
Yes, I believe that the issue of screening, the project zoning requires screening all over the whole length of it. The way that the screening is set now, it's per the Land Development Code standards. That area along 10th Avenue appears to be undeveloped or potentially developed as an ag use at this time, or proposed to be developed in ag use. The level of screening would be different for a ag use or non-developed. Well, non-developed, there's no screening that comes into play, depending on how the area is developed, is where the screening requirements are determined. I believe that the screening that has been proposed is in the area that has the current manufacturing development on it and would require the type B screen. I believe that 10th Avenue is not screened just because of the nature of it being undeveloped at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman?
Trying to get unmuted here. Apparently it is creating a bit of a nuisance or an environmental issue without having any mitigation along that area. And based on the discussion of the report, there does appear to be an intention to develop it in one of three ways: a tree farm, childcare, or some other light industrial use. So it does appear as though buffering to a residential neighborhood by a commercial would recommend a buffering of some type. And given the need to address the water issues in that area, it would appear as though the landscape or planting plan that's being proposed would work well to absorb a great deal of water. Because I know live oaks suck the water up like no tomorrow. So I'm just curious if what the applicant would suggest as a way of moving this forward and addressing some of the community issues that have been raised by the citizens today. And I'll stop there.
Commissioners?
Is that the applicant you wanted to
Yes, ma'am.
respond? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. With respect to the buffer, the reason that there is not a buffer provided on 10th is that, one, there is not any use-to-use buffer required in this area. It's also over a 50-foot right-of-way, which under the code does not require additional buffering. Where the buffering is provided for and the alternative is suggested in our request is where it immediately abuts single-family or property used for single-family or residential use, or is commercially zoned and used for residential use. And those are basically the four areas that we have proposed this additional screen. So under our current conditions, we are in compliance with the Land Development Code. I also think that just to point out and kind of mildly object is that the design exceptions have nothing to do with the screening request. If we were to just go ahead and use the screening required in the Land Development Code with our approval today, these road issues would still be what they are and the approvals granted already approved, and there's no nexus between the request and the reason for the continuance. That being said, we understand the board would like more information on this. With respect to the residents, we committed to making sure the developer or the owner of the property works with the county and the resident to discuss what those issues are. And hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, sir. And at this time, I saw that there is we're going to move, or we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Cohen.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the opponent.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't let you speak at this time.
Okay, I thought possibly I could rebut his statement.
No, sir,
Okay.
I'm sorry, but thank you.
Just him.
But
Okay.
I can guarantee you that there will be 7 commissioners that are engaged and ready to.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
you, sir. So at this time, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Cohen to continue this, seeing no further discussion. Can we have a roll call vote?
Kemp?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And Mr. Moreta.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E7 on the agenda. This is a personal appearance 21-0209 located at 3409 West Kenyon Avenue. Commissioners, this is a townhome project, approximately 77 townhomes. I'll take you to the graphic. This is Himes Avenue, Bush Boulevard. The area of the change proposed on this site is in this particular area of the site, which is along Kenyon Avenue. The particular changes that are shown on the site will be to reduce the setback and buffering from 20 to 15 feet along this area of the site, and then to reduce the front yard setbacks from 25 feet to 20 feet in this area along Kenyon. I know the applicant's going to be making a detailed presentation as well, so I'll limit my discussion, but staff is recommending approval. Generally speaking, the applicant has proposed to go from a 6-foot fence to an 8-foot high fence, and is also planting 12-foot high trees, which exceeds the current code requirements. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. And with that, we've the applicant present.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I'm Michael Horner, 14502 Northdale Mabry Highway, representing the applicant of this request. I think Joe did a good job on the summary findings. This parcel is approved for 77 single-family, attached units. This property, Commissioners, was approved back in 2017 for that PD approval. Unfortunately, during site review about a year and a half ago, site engineering requested an additional 5-foot separation between driveways and curbing that forced us to have a 5-foot discrepancy in the unit layout. We then filed for a variance on this portion, which is zoned RMC 20. At the corner, the balance of this property is PD, and we sought additional relief for the 15-foot setback on the other sides. That was granted. Unfortunately, Commissioners, we did not include this section and this section of the units. So the request today for our second PRS is to continue that 15-foot setback. In this case, it is a buffer. And as Joe mentioned, in lieu of that reduction, we will have detailed buffering plans all the way down with a 6-foot fence instead of with an 8-foot fence, rather than a 6-foot fence. Then that continues all the way to Kenyon. So this 15-foot buffer now will have landscaping every 20 feet, trees, vegetation planting, plus an 8-foot fence. There are no buildings proposed back there. There are no slabs, no patios, no outside impervious improvements. These are only single-family attached units. I'm not aware of any opposition. Happy to answer any questions, board members. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and is there any proponent testimony? Anyone present to speak in support of the project? Hearing none, is there any opponent testimony? Anyone to speak against? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. I don't, the applicant, I'm assuming, wants to waive rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And with that, we can move to board discussion.
Move approval.
And Commissioner Hagan, you're recognized.
I'll second Commissioner Cohen's motion, and if you could just recognize me after this item, I want to make a brief comment. Thank you.
Okay. So Commissioner Cohen moved to approve. Commissioner Hagan seconded, and seeing no further hands up or discussion, if we can have a roll call vote.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And Commissioner Hagan, you want to be recognized at this time?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted the board to know that I've got to leave at 11:30, so at that point, we're going to lose an in-person quorum if we're not finished. So just wanted everyone to know. Thank you.
And I thought you were going to talk about the box. We will move now to Mr. Moreto.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is item E8, personal appearance 21-0245. Commissioners, this is a modification to an existing plan development. It's a very straightforward modification. I'll take you to the graphic. This is a plan development that we're talking about. This is a local road. There's proposed access from this road to this county-owned property, which is also going to be used by Tampa Bay Water. There's an easement proposed to go across here and an additional access point for cross-access proposed in this area of the site. Staff is recommending approval.
And with that, we will now move to public hearing. Is applicant present?
I am William Malloy again, 325 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Commissioners, the development in question is obviously an RP2 subdivision under development. However, the applicant in this case is Tampa Bay Water. And the access point they're requesting is made entirely with the intention of serving a public interest, and it's entirely for the benefit of Tampa Bay Water and their facilities that would be in the Balm Scrub area. I believe it's a pretty simple, straightforward request, and I would hope that in this instance we could keep the focus just on this one driveway for Tampa Bay Water, because that is the limit of the request. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any proponent testimony at this time? Anyone speaking in support of the modification? Any opponent testimony? Anyone speaking against? Hearing none, I'm assuming the applicant will waive rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And do we have any, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move the item.
Second.
That was Commissioner Smith moving the item, seconded by Commissioner Overman. Seeing no further discussion, we can have a roll call vote.
Kemp?
Yes?
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And Mr. Moreto?
Thank you, Commissioners. Mr. Brian Grady of our staff will present item E9. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services Department. This is CDD 21-0007, a petition to modify the boundaries of the Triple Creek Community Development District. The petition has been submitted by the Triple Creek CDD to modify the boundaries of the Triple Creek Community Development District. The CDD is adding 180.186 acres and removing 14.6 acres. The modified CDD would encompass approximately 1,176 acres and is generally located on the north and south side of Big Bend Road, east of Balm River Road, and south of Rodine Road. No objections to the CDD were raised by reviewing agencies. Staff finds that the application meets the requirements of Chapter 190 Florida statutes to modify the boundaries of the community development district and recommends approval. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have the applicant present?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Kolinsky. I am here on behalf of the applicant, Triple Creek Community Development District, with the law firm of Hopping, Green & Sams. We also have 3 individuals who previously filed pre-filed testimony on the line. Should you have any specific questions, those are Grady Myers, who's the landowner representative, Kyle Thornton, who's the district engineer, and Scott Brizendine, who's the financial consultant and a representative of district management.
Thank you. And at this time, it's a public hearing. And if we could, is there anyone to speak in support of this? Proponent testimony? Hearing no one. Opponent testimony? Anyone to speak against this? Hearing none. Then we'll, I'm assuming the applicant will want to waive rebuttal?
Yes, we'll wait for rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, and,
Second.
okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Overman. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Kemp,
Yes?
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And we are now moving to the regular agenda, correct, Mr. Moreta?
That is correct. An oral argument has been filed for item G1.
Well, we're now moving to the regular agenda. We already did hold, and I could ask the attorney here, but as I understand, we already held our oral argument, or we already had oral argument on G1 during the January 12th land use meeting. The board's already heard from the Planning Commission staff, received a summary of the zoning hearing master recommendation, and we can resume discussion of this item at this point, where it was continued at during the board discussion. And correct, we just move into the discussion.
Commissioners, I would note there was also a revised condition that was part of the supplement that was sent with the agenda for this item.
I see. So you're saying at this time, then, we should have open for oral argument? I mean, can I have the attorney? Is that what we should be doing?
Commissioners, Madam Chair, the board has already conducted oral argument and has heard from everyone who was permitted to speak. It is, if the board wished to have any of those parties address the application, you certainly may. Understand that staff, Mr. Gormley or Mr. Moreta, are prepared to address the revised condition, which resulted from the continuance during the January meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so, and so can we, Mr. Moreta, you're recognized.
Madam Chair, if I could just address the condition. This is a follow-up to the board's discussion last month, in which there was the project had a condition that provided that if the county requested it, the developer would improve county-owned land to the north of the site to provide a trail and a series of park improvements. There was some sensitivity to whether that was, and they would be maintained by the homeowners association. At the last meeting, there was some inquiry about whether that was something that was appropriate for the HOA to be able to maintain, and whether the improvements were really the ideal for that area. We have since refined that condition to provide for only a trail connection between the project and Bloomingdale to the north. This would be constructed by the developer, and the maintenance of that trail would be the responsibility of the homeowners association. We've met with the developer, and there's an understanding of the level of maintenance that would be required for a trail, which is different from a full-blown park facility. These are subject to the county determining that the trail would be desired by the community. There is a all-around comfort level that this trail, if constructed, could be maintained both by the HOA and appropriate guidance has been provided by our Parks Department of the standards to which the trail would need to be constructed, and the maintenance activities that the county would accept or expect with this type of improvement on county land. The trail will be open to the public, and there's a condition that requires that it remain open to the public. So this trail could be used by the development and also by the residents in the area who the board has heard testimony on previously are currently using that area as a cut through with a trail of sorts, which is really just a walked path that's become a sort of a dirt trail through there. So the project would be proposing to improve and maintain that. And again, it is a limited, a scaled back scope of improvement than what was discussed at the last board meeting. So we took your comments back and resulted in, I think, an improved proposal for the board's consideration.
Thank you. And we'll just move to board discussion of this, and Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I just have a few questions and comments. Of course, I was absent the last meeting when this was discussed. One question I have of staff is about the reports of gopher tortoise activity on the site. My understanding is that that's really managed by the state. But have you heard any plans or?
Yeah, Commissioners, we're not aware of actual gopher tortoise activity there, but if there were, yes, that they would need to have state permits for handling the gopher tortoises or the habitat if it's found to exist. But that would be part of the development process.
And that would involve relocating them to a mitigation site of some
Yes,
sort,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, my hope initially with this discussion of the park, which is now morphed into a trail on the county-owned site, you know, I had really hoped that the developer and the county could somehow reach an agreement to where, you know, maybe that site could somehow be used as an opportunity to not only gain the amenity for the public, but perhaps to allow for larger lot sizes. Were we just never able to reach any sort of an agreement with the developer with respect to that, or?
Yes, Commissioner, the use of that land itself is limited, and that the lots could not be expanded onto that land. It's county-owned land. It's in a separate PD, a separate zoning. In discussions with the applicant, you're correct. There was no the position, as I understood it, was their request stood as presented, and the improvements to the park, notwithstanding. They were not proposing to increase any lot size or decrease any lot count.
Okay. And I see here that the PD would involve 34 single-family homes built to RSC4 standards, which would be lot sizes minimum of 10,000 square feet with a lot width of 75 feet.
Yes, sir.
How does that compare to RSC3 standards?
I believe it's a bit smaller. If Brian, is it the same lot width for RSC3s? Is that also 70s? You could address.
Development Services, yeah, it's Brian Grady, Development Services, yeah, it's the same lot width for RSC3 and RSC4.
What about the total square footage?
RSC3 is a 30-acre lot, so that's about a 14,000 square foot lot as opposed to 10,000.
Okay. You know, one thing I just don't have at my disposal, and, you know, this is really a private sector issue, is, you know, what are the economics of this with respect to being able to pay for the necessary water and sewer lines to the site? What's the minimum number of lots that would work? You know, that's a question that really only the developer knows the answer to. I will just state for the record, you know, for my colleagues that, you know, take an environmentally friendly approach to governing, that as it stands right now, the developer would have the opportunity to do 1-acre lots on the site. And Mr. Gormley, correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as all the standards are met with respect to, you know, distance between wells and septic tanks and things like that, they could do 1-acre lots on the site and have them on well and septic. Is that right?
At this point, they could do 1 acre lots. However, if they were to engage in any subdivision of the site, they would be required to hook up to utilities since it's in the urban service area.
Oh, that's right, that's right. We're inside the urban service area here. You know, I really struggle with this one because, you know, certainly we don't want to leave this landowner, you know, stuck with a 15-acre parcel, and I'm quite certain that the economics would not work with doing, you know, the 1 acre lots with the requirement to hook up to water and sewer. I really would like to see larger lots. You know, this is within that Brandon Garden Estates district. I know staff, you know, has found that this would be consistent with that requirement in the Brandon Community Plan. I still struggle with it. I would certainly like to see lots built to RSC3 standards. I think that would be a great middle ground between the community and the landowner. Is the applicant here, Madam Chair? Is the applicant available to answer board questions?
Do we have the applicant present?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard. I also have the developer and our engineer here. They need to be sworn before they answer any questions, but we are here.
Can we swear them in?
Yes, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Malloy, you know, I just want to ask, I mean, you know, this is an incredibly difficult seat to sit in, and I'm just really trying to thread a needle here between good governance, common sense governance, and the concerns of the citizens. And, you know, I would just frankly like to ask if it is, you know, economically feasible, if it is possible to do lots built to RSC3 standards, and if so, if that's something that you'd be agreeable to.
Commissioner, that's the business decision that I'm going to let Mr. Sullivan speak to. Just to confirm with staff, what are the lot standards for RSC3 that we're discussing? How big is an RSC3 lot?
Can we have the staff?
Yes, the size is 14,520 feet, 75-foot lot width with front and rear setbacks of 25 feet and side setbacks of 7.5 feet.
So, Commissioner, I'm going to have Mr. Sullivan speak to that. I would stress as much as possible that where we're at right now, we strongly feel is the compromise. We're in the urban service area. We are within sight of Bloomingdale Avenue and a multitude of much denser, smaller lots, and we feel that 10,000 square feet is a more than appropriate accommodation to that end. However, I'll let Mr. Sullivan speak to it.
Hi, William Sullivan, 1350 Orange Avenue, Suite 201, Winter Park, Florida, 32789.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Could you keep your mask on, please?
Okay, I'm sorry. I took it off because I thought you could hear. I apologize. I will always keep my mask on. I kept my mask on at the last meeting. I really apologize.
Thank you.
1350 Orange Avenue, Suite 201, Winter Park, Florida, 32789. The reason that we cannot go to smaller lots, and let me go through the economics for you. We have to build 3,200 linear feet of sidewalk to connect the two elementary schools. We have to bring in sewer and water from on Lithia Pinecrest Road, which is a cost of at least $500,000 or more to bring that in. Then we've added now a trail that's going to require over $100,000 worth of cost to bring in. So we're talking about spending, at the minimum of spending about $800,000 just to bring in the utilities and the the trail and the sidewalk. That's a large undue burden for 34 lots. It would be a disaster and totally unfeasible to ask it to be probably down to 20 lots. Plus, the trail maintenance is going to be about $500 a year per resident, and therefore now you're increasing it to less, say you get 20 lots out of it. Now you're talking about increasing that to $750 per resident. That's a large, or maybe even a little higher. That's a large amount of money to burden 20 lots for. So we would request that, due to the fact that we are dropped this from where we originally planned down to 34 lots of 10,000 square foot lots, and the immense amount of off-sites that we're providing for the county, providing sewer and water to an area that presently doesn't have sewer and water, bringing a sidewalk from Lithia Pinecrest all the way to the site so we can connect the 2 elementary schools, and connecting a trail so that the residents of Bloomingdale who send their children presently to Cimino Elementary can continue to do so. We think that we have to spread it about this many lots. So we apologize, we've tried, but this is the best we can do.
Thank you. Commissioner White?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at this parcel on a map, and I'm just, I'm really struggling with the issue of compatibility, which our comprehensive plan speaks to. And I know it says that it doesn't mean the same as, but this is surrounded on 3 sides by, larger lots that it's just how the area is developed out. I do recognize that you have, some more dense development to the north, particularly to the northwest. But, I certainly recognize the neighbors' concerns. Mr. Gormley, would you say that we have exhausted all the tools in our tool chest that might get the developer to a larger lot size? I mean, I know we used to have, I'm not even going to go back to the water and sewer issue, because that's just a non-starter. But I know we're running up against a state statute with these sidewalks because they're so close to a school. We've been dealing with, some other similar circumstances in my office. But, when I say have we exhausted all the tools in the tool chest, is there any sort of relief that could be offered to the developer in terms of costs to try to get to a larger lot product on the site in the end, or where are we on that?
Yes, Commissioner, thus far, like I said, the applicant has been, position has been, they stand pat on their application as submitted. As to the cost items, the water and sewer will be a requirement for this project. The sidewalks are identified as an improvement to the area. I don't know if that we have not had conversations with the applicant about removing that requirement, nor have they asked. But so the items listed, that and the trail improvement are things that are not that are decisions about requiring them. We think that they're certainly the sidewalk. We think is a valuable improvement for the area. But the discussions have not revolved at all around reducing lot sizes, and I understood from early on in our discussions that was not something that the applicant was willing to consider.
And how many times has this item been deferred now?
This has been this will be the 3rd time it's been before the board. It came to the board, it was remanded, came back last month, and was continued to this month.
Okay, and I know I'm asking a question off the cuff, Mr. Gormley, that you may not be prepared to answer, but do you think they would be statutorily required to do the sidewalks because of their proximity to these schools?
The sidewalk is something that we had identified as a requirement that goes beyond the minimum that the code would require. So don't believe that there is a statutory requirement for it. However, it's on a road that is substandard today, and so this was identified as the appropriate improvement for that particular road.
So can the board waive the sidewalk requirement?
If the board chose to not have that included as a requirement, I don't believe that would cause any violation of state statute.
You believe that it does not?
It does not.
Lead
That's
to
correct.
a violation of state statute?
That's correct.
So I want to ask the developer one more time, if the sidewalk requirement were waived and the trail improvement was taken off the table, because my initial vision with the county piece was that maybe some land could be conveyed in exchange for the park or trail amenity in order to make for larger lots. So if we were to just take the trail amenity off the table and waive the sidewalk requirement, would that get you to RSC3 standards economically?
Commissioner, I don't believe it does, and I very much appreciate where you're going with this, but I think it would also, removing the sidewalk and removing the trail would compromise the project as a whole. I think it's a better project with both of those elements. Certainly the sidewalk, that's a lot of sidewalk for a lot of school children to use. It's not for lack of trying. I can absolutely attest to that we're stuck at this 10,000 square foot lot. It is just simply the economics of the situation. Bringing the utilities to the park, to the subdivision, that cost is what it is. And the project needs this density to be successful. Any project on this property would need this density to be successful. Again, I'd stress it's in the urban service area. We understand the Garden Estate overlay, and that's why we're at the lot size that we're at. I think that we've, from our perspective, exhausted our toolbox in terms of things that we can offer. We would have loved to have taken an opportunity to use the county land to the north, but as Mr. Gormley said, and as I can attest to as well, it's absolutely unworkable to bring county land into a private development. It would take way too long. It was probably legally impossible at this point. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, well, I don't know where we go from here if there's a denial, but right now, I just don't think I'm in a place where I can support the request. But I'd love to hear the thoughts of some of my colleagues.
Thank you. And Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. The challenge we have is a community that has downsized density for preserving their community amenities and character. And one piece of property in that area did not downsize to the current code or comprehensive plan recommendations of the density that is being proposed by the developer. The biggest issue that I see is twofold. One, the cost component, which we have no longer, or at least are considering no longer, the spreading of the costs associated with the water and sewer that's necessary in that area. So they will, being in the urban service area, be required to connect with this level of density, which is appropriate given we are trying to dig out of a hole that we already have when it comes to septic tank management. But more importantly, the offer of the connection to the trail and the maintenance of the trail that's been made does concern me in one respect. Yes, we do want the sidewalk because of the connectivity to the communities to the north of this property that include a large number of children that have come accustomed to carting across that park and going through this piece of property to get to the elementary school to allow for walkability. And while there are sidewalks and road network that is decided through the community, I want to find out, based on the language and the offer that's being made, that there will be the elimination of any ability to compromise the right-of-way to the property to the north, which is the park and the trail that this developer is offering as a way of keeping that connectivity available. It does mention the right-of-way. It does mention the offer. But what I'm asking, because I'm not a lawyer, is given the permitting and the design and the exceptions and all of the changes that are being offered here outside of the normal land use issue, the offer of the access of the trail to the north of the property is critical to the agreement. So in anything that's approved, should it get approved, is there a requirement by the landowner and owners and ultimately, I assume, HOA required to maintain that right-of-way access, for perpetuity to the trail or to the property to the north? And I don't know the answer to that question, so I wanted to ask.
Yes, Commissioner, there is. The conditions do require and recognize that the trail is intended to be for the community at large, and it requires that that the project, the land subject to the conditions, maintain free and unobstructed access to the trail.
Okay, because my concern is basically, should this community, because it's difference in character, decide to put a gate or a fence, as part of its bordering, and then cut off that access in the future. So that would be prohibited under the current terms that are negotiated in this application?
Yes, ma'am, it would. There's contemplation in the conditions about reasonable restrictions on hours of operation. However, those are subject to approval by the county. But yes, to your question, the project is precluded from cutting off access through that site to the trail on the county property.
Could you be more specific regarding hours of operations that would possibly be applied here?
More specific on what that would entail?
For the property owner rather than through the park to the north, but in terms of access by the community to traverse the property from, say, the school area to the park area or the county property to the north.
Yes, Commissioner, the condition contemplates that there could be reasonable hours of operation subject to agreement by the county. So the condition does not establish those hours of operation, and it doesn't preclude the potential for them to be considered, but it does require county agreement to any hours of operation for the trail and the connection to the trail.
So my question is about that. What if, the county decides that today's a holiday and puts a gate up at the trail and, but it's not really a formal holiday and the kids still need to get to school? Is that right away guaranteed available for children that might be traversing from the neighborhood to the park and then ultimately down to the school area?
If I understand the question correctly, if the county agreed to close the trail and access to the trail at that time, then it would not be available during that time that the county agrees for it to be closed.
Okay, that answers my question, I think. I'm just trying to make sure that the children aren't forced to go out on other major roads to go all the way around, or parents aren't left with no other choice but to get in the car and drive to the school in a community that has attempted to put community standards in place that allows for walking along in the area. I'll stop there.
Madam Chair, we're going to lose a quorum in 5 minutes. I just want. the board to know that.
Okay, well, we do have other additional items, and I'm not sure where to go. Am willing, more than willing, and if I'd known that we have a commissioner present that could stay just till 11:30, I would have made sure that I was present there. But I can make myself available and have Commissioner, we can take a break or have the items discussed, and I can make it there in 15 minutes. I'm just talking about the other items at this time as well. But if we just move on this, and then we could maybe, as a board, figure out what we want to do after this, because we have some additional items. But is there any motion with regards to this?
I'm sorry.
I believe
in order to
citizens
move
want to
this
know.
along, I'll move
the
approval
approval
of this item, and we'll see where it goes.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Cohen moved approval, seconded by Commissioner Hagan. And seeing no further discussion at this time, please call the roll.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
No.
Motion carried 5-2. Commissioners Smith and White voted no.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I'll move to defer my commissioner item to the next meeting.
Okay. We'll do that. We also had, and roll call, I guess, do we have a roll call vote to defer?
Who had the second? I'm sorry.
Hagan.
Very good.
Commissioner
Kemp?
White, we have a motion to defer and seconded by Commissioner Hagan.
I have it now. Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
And, we still have two related items, H1A and H1B.
Yes, ma'am. H1A is a vacating petition, and H1B is a related petition that would otherwise be on consent. Our real estate department is going to make a presentation on H1A, and both items could be handled as in one motion, I believe, or Johanna can guide you on that.
Madam Chair, if the board doesn't object, I'm going to ask that we just skip the staff presentation and move straight to the public hearing on this one.
Is there an objection by?
No
anyone?
objection.
Okay. Seeing no objection, we'll move to the public hearing, and if we have any, I guess at the applicant at this time?
There's no one in the hearing room.
Okay.
Move approval.
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
So, thank you. We have approval by Commissioner Overman, I think. Was it Commissioner Overman? Seconded by Commissioner White?
For both items?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And how, okay.
Yes for the
And see-
seconder as well, yes.
Okay, thank you. And do we have to take two separate votes?
No, commissioners, you may vote on both of these items, H1A, H1B together.
Okay, if we can have a roll call?
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, and the meeting stands adjourned, as I understand. No further
Yes,
items?
That concludes our agenda. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good afternoon. Stay safe.
You too.